Hey everyone, I'm thrilled to take you on an incredible journey through some of the most epic tales in the book of Genesis. These stories aren't just ancient history, they're the foundation of our faith and hold timeless wisdom for us today. We're going to explore the lives of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph, men whose faith and struggles shaped the course of God's plan for humanity. So grab your virtual walking stick and let's step into the world of the patriarchs together. Our story begins with a man named Abram in the ancient city of Ur. God calls him to leave everything he knows and journey to an unknown land. It's a radical act of faith. Abram trusts God's promise of land, descendants, and blessing. God even changes his name to Abraham, meaning father of many. But there's a problem. Abraham and his wife Sarah are old and childless. How will God fulfill his promise? Years pass, and in a moment of doubt, Abraham fathers a son named Ishmael with Sarah's servant Hagar. But this isn't God's plan. In a miraculous turn of events, Sarah conceives and gives birth to Isaac in her old age. God's promise is beginning to unfold, but not without complications and family tension. The birth of Isaac brings joy, but also conflict. Sarah, feeling threatened, demands that Abraham send Hagar and Ishmael away. Then comes one of the most challenging moments in Abraham's life. God tests his faith by asking him to sacrifice Isaac. Abraham obeys, trusting God completely. At the last moment, God provides a ram as a substitute. This powerful story foreshadows God's ultimate provision of his own son as a sacrifice for humanity. Now let's shift our focus to one of the most dramatic events in Genesis, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. These cities have become synonymous with wickedness and God's judgment. Abraham's nephew Lot has chosen to live in Sodom, putting his family in a precarious position. As they flee, Lot's wife looks back and turns into a pillar of salt, a powerful image of the danger of clinging to a sinful past. The destruction of these cities serves as a sobering reminder of God's justice and the consequences of persistent evil. As we move forward in our story, we come to Isaac's twin sons, Jacob and Esau. From the very beginning, these brothers are locked in a struggle that will shape the future of God's people. In a moment of weakness, Esau sells his birthright to Jacob for a bowl of stew, a decision that will have far-reaching consequences. The rivalry comes to a head when Jacob, urged on by his mother Rebekah, deceives his blind father, Isaac, to receive the blessing meant for Esau. This act of deception forces Jacob to flee for his life, setting the stage for his own journey of faith and transformation. Jacob's journey takes him to his uncle Laban's home, where he falls in love with Rachel. But on his wedding night, he's tricked into marrying her older sister Leah instead. Jacob ends up working 14 years to marry both sisters, and so begins a complex family situation. The sisters compete for Jacob's affection and children. Through these complicated relationships, Jacob fathers 12 sons and a daughter. These sons will become the founders of the 12 tribes of Israel. Among Jacob's sons, Joseph stands out. He's Jacob's favorite, the firstborn of his beloved Rachel. Joseph has dreams that suggest he'll rule over his family, which doesn't sit well with his brothers. Their jealousy and resentment grow, especially when Jacob gives Joseph a special coat. It's a recipe for disaster. One day, the brothers' hatred boils over. They plot to kill Joseph, but end up selling him into slavery instead. They deceive their father with Joseph's blood-stained coat, leading Jacob to believe his son is dead. It's a dark moment that seems to spell the end of Joseph's story. Through a series of God-orchestrated events, Joseph eventually stands before Pharaoh himself. His ability to interpret Pharaoh's dreams about coming famine leads to his appointment as second-in-command over all Egypt. Joseph's wisdom in preparing for the famine saves countless lives, including those beyond Egypt's borders. His story shows how God can use even the worst circumstances for good. Joseph's position of power sets the stage for a family reunion that will change everything. As the famine spreads across the land, Jacob sends his sons to Egypt for food. Little do they know they'll encounter their long-lost brother Joseph. In a series of emotionally charged encounters, Joseph tests his brothers to see if they've changed. When he finally reveals his identity, it's a moment of shock, joy, and reconciliation. Joseph sees God's hand in all that has happened, even in his brother's betrayal. As our journey through Genesis comes to a close, we see Jacob's entire family settling in Egypt. It's a temporary solution to the famine, but it sets the stage for the Exodus story that will follow. The lives of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph have laid the foundation for the nation of Israel and God's ongoing plan of redemption. As we reflect on these epic tales from Genesis, we see a God who is faithful to his promises, even when his people falter. These stories remind us that God works through imperfect people and challenging circumstances to accomplish his purposes. They invite us to trust God's plan, even when we can't see the big picture. May these ancient narratives inspire our own journey of faith today.